Hey look, it's night time. Finally, after waiting this long for it to get dark. I hate the sunlight. It's always so bright. Now you're probably wondering, well, I don't know what I'd be wondering about. I'm not psychic, am I? But nevertheless, welcome to the channel. And where hopefully I get to talk about a castle that's been inhabited by every monster you can probably imagine, as well as a cartoon that isn't too shy away from showing bloody violence and pillaging. Enjoy! Well, I recently watched Castlevania anime on Netflix. It's pretty good. I like season 1 and 2. I didn't watch season 3 because they focused a lot more on side characters that were prevalent in season 2. And me watching the anime, it kinda sparked my interest of wanting to play a Castlevania game, and since Alucard's the main protagonist of the series, why not play Symphony of the Night again and refresh my memory of why when I first played it I fell in love with the game. And keep in mind, this is the only Castlevania game that I own. I never played what became before or after, so with that being said, let's talk about Castlevania Symphony of the Night as well as the anime. But first I want to talk about the anime and get my thoughts out of the way. Now the premise is simple. A woman called Lisa wants to learn science, a lost philosophy to humankind, as they just want to use faith rather than reason, which is dumb. But nonetheless she learns from Dracula, falls in love with him, have a baby called Alucard, unfortunately gets burned alive as a church demon as a witch, and when Dracula hears the news, he gives the town folks of Wallachia 1 year to make peace with their god. I did not expect this anime to be so gory and violent. It's been a while since I watched anything gory. I mean, the last anime I watched that was around that genre was Attack on Titan season 3. Also, the violence and gore remind me of Hellsing Ultimate. It's been a while since I watched that anime. It doesn't shy away from showing all the horror, like you see infants, baby and adults getting killed, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought the anime was just going to focus on Alucard and his friends against Dracula and his armies. But back to my point, I was happy that the townsfolk got what was coming to them. I mean, like burning a person who has knowledge outside their religion in fear that it might contradict their ideologies. This was prevalent in the dark ages of Europe, as if you talk anything that is science related, you'll be labelled as a heretic and probably be driven out of the country. This anime also uses Christianity as a staple, so you kinda know what the town folks or the church thinks about and what they fear the most, and that's probably why they were so slow at evolving. I like the main cast of the series, starting with Alucard obviously. He's cool, calm and has class, and he's the son of Dracula. Then there is his polar opposite Trevor Belmont, a drunk potty mouth fighter who comes from a clan that was excommunicated by the church for the use of black magic. And the last of the lovely trio, Cypher Bernardes. She's a speaker and in basic term a historian. They don't write down history, they just memorize it. And she's a mage, so she can perform spells and all sorts, the natural enemy to the church and God. I love the relationship and banter between Trevor and Alucard, the dialogue that they have and the insults they throw at each other, while Cypher is in the middle thinking what the hell is wrong with these two idiots. It felt genuine and thank God it isn't campy. Because at first of the bloodline and lineage, naturally under any circumstances, they have to fight and kill each other. However, Alucard is a half-breed, taking on his mother's ideology rather than his father, and because he failed once trying to stop Dracula, he needs help from Trevor and Cypher to hoping get rid of Dracula and clean up the mess later. I was confused on the story because I know that Alucard meets with Richter Belmont and Trevor claimed that he was the last of his clan. Only Leon was mentioned, another Belmont that is his descendant. Then I put 2 and 2 together and realized that Trevor and Cypher probably have a baby together to carry the lineage. I could be wrong though. Plus the story is 300 years earlier, so it's a prequel to Symphony of the Night. I understand Dracula's revenge plot, at first killing the people who were responsible for the death of Lisa, but it gets out of control as all human has to die. People that were involved over one woman. It's funny that Dracula has all the knowledge in the world and is immortal only to fall insanity over the love of his life, Lisa. Of course Dracula hates all humankind before meeting Lisa, because religion and fantasy don't mix. The series introduces Dracula vampire general that do nothing for the story and was a waste of time. I did like his relationship with Isaac, a human that despises humankind. Even in madness, Dracula saved him from being killed. As for Hector, another human, he's just an idiot, really. You can just feed him anything and he'll just follow you, to a point of him being used by the female vampire that becomes important in the 3rd season, I guess. The pacing of the anime for the trio is weak, as half the time they're in the Belmont library, and it focuses more on Dracula's minions killing and pillaging the land. I wish that they did something cool, but the ending is sweet as Dracula finally comes to reason with himself and allows Alucard to kill him. It's sad and scary. However, is this the ending for all Castlevania games? Because the plotline is kinda similar to Symphony of the Night, and how Alucard and Dracula talked about Lisa. It always seems to end when Dracula realizes his mistakes, but Eventually he rises up every century and forgets everything, and that's kind of repetitive if that's the basis of every Castlevania storyline, as history will repeat itself with the new generation of the Belmont clan fighting vampires and Alucard, a half-breed who has a longer lifespan than the regular humans. And with that, onto the game. I will say that if you're a fan of Symphony of the Night, then you should watch the anime. It is good. I watched the first and second season, but like I said, they killed Dracula so soon. So with that story, they focus on the leftover vampires. I honestly thought that Dracula was going to be the final villain of the final season, but guess not. So, back to Symphony of the Night. What is weird about this game is that at first Castlevania didn't get the spotlight it deserved in the US. The game's commercial performance wasn't that good, mediocre at best, but later on the critics made this game become a hit through word to mouth because there was no internet back then, and because of that the game was re-released on multiple consoles that were the Sega Saturn, Xbox 360, PSP, PlayStation 4 and iOS and Android. It was considered as one of the best video games of all time, although I doubt that it got that title when it first came out. Probably later on, but that doesn't matter since it got the accolade. I'm going to be talking about the PlayStation version that came out in November 1st, 1997 for Europe, which we were the last one to get it unfortunately, as Japan got it 8 months earlier, coming out in March 20th, and America got it a month earlier before us on October the 2nd. But hey, I'm not gonna complain, we probably got the definitive edition as the developers had all that time to tweak the game and fix the bugs and glitches. Or the other option is that we got the same as what was released in Japan. Sega Saturn was only port to have new content like playing Maria Reynard, fighting new bosses, exploring new areas, stuff like that. But unfortunately the Sega Saturn version wasn't that great compared to the PlayStation, even with all of its exclusive content, which you think would be superior. And this is the 10th installment of Castlevania that have been around since the late 80s. Symphony of the Night is a platform action adventure RPG, or a specific term that perfectly describes Castlevania and Metroid, who pioneered this game genre, Metroidvania. Very creative. This game is developed and published by Konami, and the director of the game was Toru Hagihara, who worked on the last Castlevania game Rondo of Blood as a director, and his assistant director was Koji Igarashi, the series writer and programmer who also worked on the previous Castlevania game Rondo of Blood, and the many Castlevania games that came after Symphony of the Night. Then many years later he published his own style Castlevania game called Bloodstained after a fallout with Konami. Well, who would have guessed? Since Konami didn't make enough units for Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation, it initially failed to pick up any steam. And in the PAL region, this game is expensive as all hell. It's one of my most expensive PlayStation games that I own. It doesn't have a manual, but what I paid for it is pretty reasonable, although I am in a hunt for a manual though. I love the illustration cover for this game. It reminds me of MGS, but it's not the same artist, both cover or in game. The PAL version has Alucard at the front and center, looking elegant, while in the US version, their cover is just a castle with lightning. Yep. Now I know why this game flopped over there. The artist who did the PAL version and the rest of the cast was Ayami Kojima. Her design for the game is heavily influenced by Bishonen style art. This is my first time looking at this particular style in a video game, and it looks really beautiful. The soundtrack and sound of the game is fantastic. It's like you're hearing a symphony throughout the night while exploring the castle, kinda like the title of the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. My favourite soundtrack, or the one that stood out to me, was The Lost Painting. The music feels somber and it just makes me feel lost in a world, like an illusion. I just didn't want to get out. Marble Gallery and Dracula Castle is kinda similar. I mean, they're both upbeat, and sometimes I was just humming to the sound. It's a shame that you don't get to hear it as often, and the one who made the music, or the composer, is Michiru Yamane, who worked on previous Castlevania games. Her style is mostly classical and rock. While the soundtrack does have those elements, it also has jazz, techno, and a variety of metal. The ending theme song is written by Rika Moronaka. Yes, the same one who did my favourite soundtrack of Metal Gear Solid, The Best Is Yet To Come. She wasn't alone though, as she collaborated with Tony Haynes on the project of the game, and the song was performed by Cynthia Harrell, who did the opening theme for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. What? Oh, I just realised that Metal Gear Solid was a Konami IP, so naturally there's going to be a crossover. I like the in-game sounds of when you kill monsters, like when wolves howl and blow up to pieces, to these weird ghost creatures that make strangely weird and satisfying noise. Some monsters even have companions with them, and if you kill them first, you see unique animation that you wouldn't even see before, like when you go back to the beginning and see the owl knight with his owl, killing the owl first, and you see the knight fall into despair. It's really cool details. I thought I recorded that part, but I guess not. I just recorded the part where I just abused him with the stopwatch. Seriously, that weapon is OP. The gameplay for Symphony of the Night is smooth, the animation is smooth. I like it how whenever you start to run, you see like Alucard after image things. It's a nice aesthetic and detail of Alucard's character, you know, being a vampire and all. This game proved that 2D will never be outdated during the time of 3D popularity, and looking back it's the other way around. Most early 3D games are outdated, like Tomb Raider and early Tekken to name a few, and not 2D games. Well, it depends on the art style or sprite that they used. The basic of the gameplay is to explore Dracula's complex castle and defeat his minions, but that's not all. As in the second castle, which continues the story, if you aren't trying to get the bad ending, the castle becomes inverted, turning upside down, and I must say that the level design is genius. Not only whoever is in charge of it has to have insight and to think about the layout of Dracula's castle, you know, trying to make every room work, both normal and inverted. Plus it has to make sense and not random. Like the deeper you go, you'll see caves, catacombs and basements and the likes. While going up the castle, you see rooms that look a lot more elegant, like seeing the marble gallery, the chapel and the library. Going even further, at the top of the castle, you see a mysterious person who is the lord of the castle, awaiting whoever enters. On the other hand, the inverted castle, you start at the top, which is at the bottom of the map, and explore everything again to find new things or boost your health or hearts, and try to find the mastermind with new monsters to fight. Although I will say you do fly a lot using the bat transformation for most of the times. The layout for the second part does feel awkward for the most part. This game isn't linear by any sense. You can eventually, when you have all the stuff you need to overcome obstacles, you can explore every inch of the castle, so it's kind of like open world but in a castle, and everything is interconnected with some dead ends, but those dead ends might have secrets or special items. You can fast travel by using some rooms that is a portal moving you across the map if you don't feel like running around. And another thing, you can play this game really simple, but since I didn't have the manual, I didn't realize that Alucard has other special moves, like he can backdash to avoid getting hit, or you can use it to run away, and whenever you jump you can kick down, as there was one part where I was underground and I saw a crack at the floor, but I couldn't hit it. I then realized I need to jump and kick down, but by then it was already too late. And there are plenty of moves that I haven't even tried, like whenever in combat you can perform sick moves. Like you can phase through, hit the enemy and return where you was before. So yeah, you can do a little experiment to see how the gameplay works for you, or you can keep it simple and slice everything in your way. The game has RPG elements. Alucard has 4 attributes: strength, defense, intelligence and luck. The more experience points you earn from killing harder enemies, the quicker you level up, especially in the second half of the game. Alucard can use magic spells, which I never used because I didn't find any, and can summon familiar which act independently from you and can help you in battle. The ones I found were the demon and the ghost familiar. I do remember having a sword one when I played it for the first time back in the day. However, there are more familiars for you to unlock, like the bat, fairy and sprite. I think on a console, or if you're in different regions, there's more of them, like Tengu. When exploring the castle and finding secrets, you sometimes find the relics that help you on your journey, like finding cards to summon familiars, double jump, showing the damage you dealt, showing the name of the monsters, and being immune to water, which is super helpful. Alucard can obtain souls by shapeshifting into bats, wolves and mist, and you can upgrade them. Like for a bat, you can shoot fireballs and see in the dark with echo for a short amount of time, as well as damaging enemies. As for the wolf, you can run faster and can be able to use special moves. As for the mist, you can change it to transform into poisonous mist, and these souls are also crucial for exploring, as certain areas are too high up or you need to slip past grates. You can turn off the relic powers off in the game, making it challenging for yourself. Just don't bother turning off the transformation, as he needed to progress further to the story as well as the castle. The first half of the game, Alucard is stripped of his equipment and has to survive and find weapons and armor till he gets his old stuff back. The bosses for the first half offer no trouble to me, apart from the doppelganger that caught me off guard, and that big sack of human meat, as that fight is mostly jump, hop and skip. While the second half is the same, you also fight one of the strongest bosses of them all, Galamoth. This golden behemoth is huge, almost covering up half of the screen with his presence. It's hard trying to hit him because everything will hurt Alucard, including his weapons, and that I didn't like. Alucard, whenever he gets hit, he flies back a mile away while being stunned, meaning you can get stun lock in his fight. His staff unleashes lightning that is continuous for about 4 seconds, taking at least half your health away because the lightning will have no effect on you, so you just have to worry about his other attacks. The only weak spot that Galamoth has is his head, but that's impossible to reach as he's a giant. You can't touch him because, like I said, you take damage and you don't have long range attacks. Plus he can attack you off screen while you're standing at the top of the ledge trying to hit his head. You can transform into a bat trying to hurt him, but that'll make no difference. So it's best to fight him last and collect all of Alucard's armor, as his chest piece is resistant to lightning, and that will switch the tide of the battle. And collecting Alucard's sword, shield, armor and Twilight Cape will give you more stat boost on top of whatever you have. So whenever you're in the second half, start looking for the set. And speaking on how Alucard gets hit, if you're at the edge of the screen and you're struggling trying to kill a certain monster, only for that monster to hit you and force you into another room, when you go back to the place you've been stuck on, all the enemies have respawned. This is tedious when there aren't any save rooms about. You also have sub weapons to use that will consume hearts. The stronger the weapon, the more hearts you'll lose, so you need to strategize on what weapon is best suited for you. I only use 3 sub weapons a lot, that are knife, stopwatch and the Bible. The knife is weak but it's fast. It's easy to use as it flies forward, making contact to mostly all monsters. The stopwatch is a breather. Some monsters and bosses are immune to this hack's ability, so it isn't reliable, especially in the second half when you fight the bosses. And as for the Bible, it's more of a protector. If I miss a hit, chances are the book will damage them if they make contact to me, most of the time. The others that I barely used or thought was useless are the axe. This is useful for flying enemies, but most of the times you can just jump and deal the damage yourself. It flies on an arc, so it's useless at close range, and this weapon gave me trouble when I have to fight a boss that was quick, so using the axe that is long range didn't help much. Cross is an ultimate attack that consumes a lot of hearts, so it's a high risk thing. Again, I wouldn't use this on bosses if I know they won't die. Holy water is another good sub weapon, I just didn't use it as much. How it works is that you basically throw it on the floor and it ignites, burning whoever is in contact with it. And you can attack them while the holy water is damaging them, chipping away at the health, so you can deal double damage. Rebound stone is useless as it's only good for tight spaces, but the room in a castle is mostly wide and open. It's a weapon that ricochets off the wall, and the damage is powerful, but you just be wasting your time with it. Well, these next two are going to be hard to pronounce. Angonia is a weapon that you throw and hit monsters. Once that happens, you can strike them with lightning multiple times. Unfortunately, I rarely use this, as it's not common to find. I found this sub weapon in the Colosseum and the secret room before you fight the last boss in the inverted castle. And lastly, Vibhuti. This weapon is similar to the holy water in that it deals constant damage to enemies that touches it by throwing sacred ashes upon them. At first I thought it was salt, but hey, ashes work I guess. You can buy pretty much anything from a merchant in the library, like throwable weapons, ailments, armor, cloak, anything for a price. Not as charming as Resident Evil 4 merchant. Welcome! But he does get the job done. You can look at the enemy HP and the statistics that you once defeated, but not only that, you can fight previous bosses that you also defeated for a price. Not much can be said about the gameplay, it's really simple. All you do is explore and kill monsters that stand in your way, but the story is intriguing as it takes place 200 years after the anime, which was the story of Trevor, Cypher and Alucard. Of course, but before I talk about the story, this game is synonymous with excellent voice acting, and by excellent I mean over the top, like half-assed, give me my paycheck kind of deal.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
Although Dracula dialogue in this game is leagues better than the rest, hear one of the iconic speech that Dracula gives to Richter before their battle.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets! But enough talk! Have at you!
He's so over the top. So the story begins with a prologue that takes place at the end of another Castlevania game, Rondo of Blood. You control Richter to kill Dracula and succeed. However, 4 years have passed and Richter suddenly disappeared. Maria Reynard, his companion, started looking for him, but has no clue where to begin. Then suddenly Dracula Castle materializes out of nowhere, in which happened once a century, and that pretty much tempted Maria to enter and look for Richter. Meanwhile, Alucard, who has defeated his father once before, wanted to sleep for eternity because of his bloodline and suppressing his vampire ability, but now that he's aware that the castle has emerged out of nowhere and, well, he has to return to his cursed home and finish the job, cleansing the castle of any monsters that roam around, and to find out who is the lord of the castle of Castlevania. The beginning boss fight with Dracula, I think you can defeat him without dying, so to speak, as you can't really lose this fight as the girl will make Richter invincible, so it's not that bad of an introduction if this is your first entry to this franchise. But Richter isn't the protagonist of the story. Oh no, that title belongs to Alucard, Dracula's only son, and Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards. I wouldn't even guessed, but that is obvious. After the prologue, you then control Alucard as he enters the castle second before the gate closes, and right off the bat he is overpowered with all of his equipment. However, that isn't for long as death strips him naked of his tools. Not literally naked, man still got clothes on for Christ's sakes. And now you have nothing, you're powerless, and have to find scraps to get by and slowly become stronger than you were before. I'll say that at the beginning hours of the game it was stressful. I didn't know where to go or what to do other than exploration. But eventually I got my bearings, so you just need to push yourself a little further till you get the grasp of the gameplay. Alucard meets with Maria as she's still searching for Richter, but to no success. You'll meet her a couple of times throughout the game. Then in the Colosseum, Alucard is greeted with a familiar face who claims is the lord of the castle, Richter Belmont. This is strange as the Belmont is the natural enemy of vampires, so why is he suddenly the lord of the castle? Now when you see him in the Colosseum, you don't fight him, you just fight his minions. And when you go back to the same place where you fought Dracula, you see Richter there again. Just don't be hasty and kill him, because then you get the bad ending and the game will stop there. And when that happens, you basically have to restart the game and play the game all over, or start from your last save point. So in order to get a good ending, you need to get the holy glasses from Maria, and to get to her, you need to find the spike breaker at the bottom of the map and get the echo for the bat to see in the dark. Once you get those, Alucard speaks to her and tells her the truth about Richter, and when she realizes of the situation, she just runs away from the truth. And in the middle of the map where the clock room is, you need to open the secret door. To do that, you'll need silver ring in the royal chapel and the gold ring, as well as a crystal cloak that is in the underground waterway. I think you do need the crystal cloak, not sure, but it worked for me. And equipping all the items I mentioned would open a passage to Maria, who will then realize that Richter is probably being controlled by someone and pleases Alucard not to hurt him or kill him. Doing so, you get the bad ending, and when the talk is over, she gives him the holy glasses that can see through illusions. In the castle keep, Alucard will meet Richter as he spills his plans to him, and his plan is to revive Dracula and to fight him for all eternity. Well, that's a good motive, pretty boring though. And when the fight begins, you see a green orb floating around. Try attacking that when Richter isn't too busy stun locking you. Winning the fight, Richter is free from the spell cast upon him by Dracula's servant, the Dark Priest, Shaft, and he tells Alucard that Dracula will be resurrected, and then he duplicates the castle and makes it inverted and hides there. So Alucard goes in alone to confront Shaft, leaving Richter and Maria behind. And in this part you have to explore the castle again with tougher monsters and a confusing layout, since everything has been switched around, like top is now bottom and left is now right and vice versa. So in order to go through the second half, you'll need a pretty good memory. I was just praying to find a safe room every time I venture out to the wild. Now in order to fight Shaft, you need to find Dracula's pieces by fighting certain bosses, and there are 5 in total, and obtaining Dracula's pieces will boost one of Alucard's attributes. There is one boss fight that I found tragic to fight, which is that Alucard has to fight his old friend Trevor and Cypher with some random other dude. I know that they're fake, but I just can't imagine seeing your friend 300 years later only to kill them. Pretty crappy situation. So with that said, head to the middle of the castle to the same clock room to open the same room in where you met Maria to get the glasses. There you meet Shaft, and he reveals his plans, that is to control the Belmont clan and force them to fight each other. When you fight and kill him, he does eventually revive Dracula back, and it's up to Alucard to kill his father once again. I like his final form. It's sick. He sits in his throne as the chair is mutated with 3 heads that look like aliens' head with huge arms and bat wings. This fight is challenging, but not the hardest in the game, maybe second hardest. And after he's defeated, Alucard reveals Lisa's last word to Dracula, and those words are she will love him for all eternity. Well, isn't that sweet? Wait. Isn't this ending quite similar to the ending in the anime? I mean, when he sees Alucard's childhood room that him and Lisa built for him, he suddenly realizes his mistake and Alucard kills him, and in this game is no different. Anyways, Dracula asks for Lisa to forgive him 1,000 times and says goodbye to Alucard 1,000 times. and after escaping the castle, Alucard rejoins with Maria and Richter. Richter blames himself for Alucard fighting his father again, only for Alucard to deliver one of my favorite quotes.
Indeed, but you must always remember that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
So true. Now, depending on how much you explore the castle, there's actually 3 endings. The bad one, which is killing Richter, and the other 2 are Alucard wanting himself to disappear, and then Maria has a choice to either chase after him to change his mind, or to leave him be to his own misery. You need to explore around 200% or more to get the Maria chases after Alucard ending, the real ending. And that's my review of Castlevania anime on Netflix, primarily season 1 and 2, and also my review of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation. The anime is good, but if you're squeamish then don't bother, there's a lot of bloody violence in that show. If I have time or care then I'll guess I'll watch season 3 to see what's all about, but it won't be anytime soon. Now as for Castlevania Symphony of the Night the game, I honestly can't think of one bad thing to say about it. Well, there's one thing, every time he gets hit he flies back a mile away, and I guess that's the only bad thing about it, for me at least. Other than that, the gameplay is fun. The music is excellent, the story is okay, isn't the mastermind level of intellect, but I liked it. The 2D visual and sprite are timeless, aging like fine wine. I don't drink alcohol, so it's aging like, I don't know. What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? I've been AnimersiveXP, thank you so much for watching, make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and you'll see me in the next video. Bye bye.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
Always remember that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.